Greetings, fellow shipwreck survivors. Radaman here. Thank you for tuning in to the first episode of a new series covering Salt 2 Shores of Gold. If you would like to skip the game's overview or the details about this series, please use YouTube chapters. Salt 2 Shores of Gold is a pirate-themed open-world adventure game focused on exploration, crafting, and survival. Build a boat and outfit it with crafting benches, furniture, and decorations, and set sail to discover islands full of quests, towns, caves, and secrets. The game is similar to like if Sea of Thieves was PvE only, you know? And in this specific series, I'll be playing on single player, not co-op. I believe it goes up to 6 on normal combat difficulty with a random world seed. For those that don't know, if you don't randomize your world seed, you end up in a situation where you have the same sort of world seed as like the default. So my name, yes, world seed. If you pick the default, then you can like know the map ahead of time, but I don't want, so I'll just go with Guzojocks, whatever that is. And here is my character. It doesn't really matter all that much because like you never really see your character, but you know, so be it. And there, that's good enough. And in we go.
It seems the gods have smiled upon you today. A stranger in a strange land. Adrift, alone. Nevertheless, I'm afraid I must leave now. Good luck.
Okay. So here we are, a stranger in a strange land, or whatever exactly that guy said. And we are supposed to read the journal on the table. Note from a stranger. If you're reading this, you didn't die. I found you shipwrecked and barely clinging to life. Fortunately, I have somewhere I need, or rather, unfortunately, I have somewhere I need to be. There's a cave north of camp with enough supplies to build a raft and get off this island. If I were you, I'd build the raft and head for the nearest seaport. I'm leaving a map, compass, and sextant on the table here. The map contains coordinates to the seaport. Use the compass and sextant to navigate there. Once you have done so, it might be a good idea to talk to the cartographer. If you're going to survive out there, you need a proper ship and crafting stations to place on it. Maybe he can help you upgrade to a better vessel and get you on your way. Good luck, stranger. Maybe we'll meet again. So we have a cutlass, and F is loot, and holding F is like loot the whole area. Combat. Melee weapons have primary and secondary attacks. Hold the attack button to activate a secondary attack, which is slower, but deals more damage and stuns the enemy. You can also block some incoming attacks. This will prevent you from taking damage, but consumes stamina. If you don't have enough stamina, the damage will get through. A perfectly timed block at the last second will parry the enemy, stunning them, and opening them up for a critical hit. Note that animals cannot be parried. Pressing the dodge button, which is left control, at the right time will completely negate damage, but consume stamina. Here's a map to the seaport. Map items will go into your inventory, and you can hover over these to see coordinates to the point of interest. Your quest journal will often show the coordinates of a quest location if you have a relevant map in your inventory or ship storage, as well as a show on map button that will add a waypoint to your personal map for that location. Let's grab the bottle, grab the compass, and the sextant. Use a sextant to find your current coordinates and a compass to determine your direction. When using a sextant, aim towards the sun, moon, or planet, which look like bright stars, before taking a reading to get an accurate location. Additionally, you can add waypoints on your map to keep track of locations other than islands. So, if we hit M, this is the map. It's procedurally generated when you're not on the default seed. And if we want to find out where we are, let's go do that. I'm going to set the sextant to 8 and the compass to 7 and the cutlass to 1. Just mousing over them and hitting 1 through 8. There's also an equipment wheel. So if you go to equipment, there's this wheel here, and you can access the wheel by holding E. I like to put equipment on the wheel that I don't use very often, and then the stuff I use very often on my bar. That would be the difference there. So because I am planning on using the sextant, compass, and cutlass often, I want it on my bar so that I can access it quickly. So, a sextant. Stare at the sun, click, and now we know that we're at 0, 0. So here we are at 0, 0, and this is the island of 0, 0. When you click on an island, you can put down some map markers as like a reminder of what's there. So if there is, let's say, a seaport there, I can click the anchor. And as you can see, the island now has a seaport icon. And allows you to sort of like remember. So for instance, if you have a quest that's like, go hunt deer. If you have marked down previous islands with like, hey, there are deer here, you don't have to go on a wild goose chase to try to figure out which one's which. All right, hitting tab. All right, let's go over the rest of the UI real quick. So the bottom left here, we've got map, crouch, sprint, weapon wheel, which is E, and tab, which is inventory. Bananas is your food meter, 1 through 5. This game, much like other adventure games, does have a, like, food buff, but it's the last thing you ate. So, if I eat, like, a really nice meal, I get a food buff, and then if I eat a banana afterwards, the food buff kind of goes away. Above that, or below that, rather, is your health and stamina, red and green. You got your toolbar. And then this over here is buffs and world state. The world state here, the world tier, is essentially as you level up, the world gets harder. So it is a way to have stronger enemies, harder quests, better gear, etc. And this happens over time as you level up. So the world levels up with you. All right, if we hit tab, we have inventory. So this is the stuff we have. There is the everything. And then the individual tabs if you want something specific, like if you only want to look at your maps, for instance. And in this case, we have a map to the seaport, which is at 2 north, 0 east. So if I click this and hit waypoint, I can see that if I sail north, I get to the seaport. This is a cartographer station, and the cartographer station, it's probably mislabeled. It's really a shipwright station where you like build ships and ship stuff. So in order to build a raft, we need wood logs, copper ingots, and rope. And that gets us off this island. All right. Unlike a lot of the adventure games, you don't cut down trees. In order to collect wood, you collect them from like saplings. And there's different types of wood that you can collect. There's a lot of stuff that you can collect, and the act of collecting this stuff will raise your skills. So there are primary skills with their own talent trees, like exploration, throwing, marksman, archery, piercing, bludgeoning, and slashing. And then there's secondary skills, which do not have talent trees. And because I just picked a sapling, I leveled up a little bit of herbalism. And secondary skills are very important because, for instance, at my current level of 0, I can really only mine up copper. If I want to start mining up iron and other more rare metals, I'll need to level up my mining. So do not ignore your secondary skills, as it will bottleneck you. All right, looting some flowers. And that came with strong fibers. And then, of course, the note that I just read told me to go north. So here's my compass. And north is this way. Let's head north and figure out where the cave is that stranger told us to go loot. Saplings and herbs. Perfect. All right, we also have a shovel here. Shovels, I would say, are the types of equipment that you don't use very often. So it makes sense to put it on your tool wheel where you can hold E. In order to do that, you go to equipment, you click the slot, and then you pick the item that should be on the wheel. Because I don't use a shovel enough to warrant adding it to my primary bar. Whereas like a pick you would use often. This here is copper. I obviously can't mine copper at the moment because I don't have any tools to do it. So we gotta ignore it for now. And then of course we have like other nodes over here, more copper, plants, flowers, pretty much everything is worth collecting. There is a carry weight in the game. So right now, as you can see, I'm 5 out of 200, which is very light. And there are some stat bonuses for being in a certain weight class. So there are some where it's like, you'll do more damage if you're very light. The game allows you to store things, so I wouldn't worry about like collecting stuff. So, quest update, new beginnings. Loot the supply chest. Now, just about everything in this game can be looted. Boxes, barrels, everything. I'm going to put stamina potions on, let's say, 6. Skeletons. Crates, just everything on the floor. Pick up all of it. And here is a chest with the wood, rope, and copper that I would need in order to build a ship. There's also a pickaxe and handgun. Most of the entries of this journal are illegible except for the final notes scribbled hastily. I found the cave. According to my sources, there's a hidden alcove where Captain Blackburn was trapped with his treasure. Apparently, a breakable boulder of some kind hides it. The note was clear. The dead man points the way. What does that mean? Oh wait, I hear something. Sounds like growling. Alright, let's go ahead and put pickaxe on 2 and flintlock on 4. And with a pickaxe, let's start collecting the ores that I've found. And if you hold F, you... Oh, hello. Hello, bear. I'm glad you're a weak bear. If you hold F, you collect all, which is really convenient. Alright, storage chest of coppers. So that's currency, of course. Yeah, some things cannot be picked up. If you look at it and you don't get like a high hand icon, it can't be fetched. And the dead man points the way. And in this game, there's a lot of breakable rocks to like secret rooms. So that's pretty typical. So here's the note. Laying next to the skeleton, you see a rolled up piece of parchment. Opening the parchment, you find a small entry, mostly faded. The cavern wall has collapsed and trapped me inside here. To make matters worse, I told none of the crew where I was going. I'm not going to survive long if I don't find a way out. I stole your hat. I stole your lockpick. I stole your ring. So let's put those things on. The game has a rather interesting way of dealing with enchanted equipment, for lack of a better term. So if I put on this tricorn hat, or if I click it, I can pick one of 2 talents. So this hat can either make me do more damage with a staff, or more damage with throwing knives. And there's also rarities, white, green, blue, purple, so on and so forth. Yellow, I think is the best. So I'm gonna do ninja, so my throwing stars are stronger. So I've got a ninja hat, for lack of a better term. And then likewise, ring. And this ring can increase my constitution or armor. So constitution is max health and armor is armor class. I'm gonna do armor. And then if I look at my equipment here, I have got the hat and the ring on with the associated bonuses. Item talents. Many items, such as armor and weapons, have talents that you can customize. I just mentioned this. Inspect an item to see its talent tree. Talents on items are randomized when they are dropped or crafted. Looking for a specific role on an item, you can craft it multiple times to find the best combination. So we've got a tunic, health potions, a hip lantern, morning dew, plant oil, sage, and a sand-stained wooden chest. So, hip lantern, going on my hip for a light source. And then the Captain Blackburn's tunic, I'm equipping. And this thing has unspent talents as well. And I'm going to do armor again. There we go. We're already looking somewhat captain-y, I would like to think. The hip lantern just goes on my hip, and that will illuminate everything around me as a light source. Throughout your adventure, you'll discover crafting recipes. Interact with these recipes in your inventory to learn them. Then you can craft them by using the appropriate crafting station. Perfect. So, a commander's ring, a dusty dining table, boots, hats, and a shirt. If I want to learn these, I go to the recipe tab, I click and learn, and once you learn a recipe, it deletes the recipe, and if you already have that recipe, you can usually sell recipes to NPCs. So it's not worthless. You might as well pick them up. They don't weigh very much. Alright, I think it's safe to say this cave is more or less cleared out by me. So let's go back to that cartography table and build a raft. Health potions. Crucial for surviving combat. You can hotkey them. So let's go do that. I'm going to put this on 5. So I've got health potions on 5. There's a little bit of an interaction time, but it's pretty quick. Additionally, I did get some bear meat. So I'm going to cook up 2 pieces of bear meat in this cooking station, leveling up my cooking skill. Now, as you can see, like, a fried grouper is a level 10 cooking recipe. I'm not going to be able to fry up some grouper unless I level up my cooking. So for every possible skill that you could have, it's really important to level them up if you wish to use them. Otherwise, you're just going to be level locked. So right now, I'm just like making cooking oil and health potions and all sorts of things, leveling up my cooking skill. And yes, if you're wondering, I will in fact be doing fishing, because I think I wouldn't be demonstrating this game properly without it. It's not to say I'm going to do a lot of fishing, but I'll do some. And before I leave this island, I think it would be wise for me to survey it just a little bit more. So we know that the cartography station is to the south. So in terms of the map, you don't get any more detail than this. This is about as much detail as you get. So for the individual points of interest on an island, you're going to need to remember their cardinal directions or you will be lost. So south, maybe a little bit to the east is the cartography table I want to interact with. And what I'm doing here is I'm just like wandering around the starting island to collect the resources that are here. It's not strictly necessary. This is a procedurally generated world with like tons and tons and tons and tons of islands. Like, I really cannot express that enough. There is no shortage of material. And then also, most things respawn. So if you find an island that has like precious resources that are rare, you can, I don't know what the respawn timer is, but I do know that a lot of the resources do respawn. Oh, hi, bud. And with that said, you know, you can always return at a later date. I'm feeling hungry for some venison. Sorry, Bambi's mom. Drunken Man's Shack. And islands are completely full of, like, random... I mean, the starting island is not procedurally generated, but the other islands are. And they're full of, like, things to discover. So here's the Abandoned Shack note. The rum has gone to my head again. I can't even remember where I hid the key to the storage shed. I feel like it was on a stone? A tomb? No, a tombstone. That was it. Wait, I need another drink first. Well... You had lots of drinks. So, the key to the shack is, like, by a tombstone, according to the drunk dead person. And, you know, from my experience, drunk dead people are, like, the most reliable source of information. So, if we want to open this bad boy, let's find some sort of tomb somewhere. And yes, there's other islands. In fact, if that's to the north, yes, that is probably the seaport, because it has very clearly buildings on it. So I believe that's the seaport that the stranger directed us towards. And we'll go there next to get our footing, our sea legs. Yar. Wow, all of this green is making me glow like I'm a Fallout super mutant. And who says I'm not? Maybe I am. Did we not get the bear meat? Not only did we get the bear meat, I already ate it. It was delicious, thank you. Well, I haven't seen anything tomb-like yet, but we'll keep looking. It's a pretty small island, so it's not like it's going to take too long to survey it all. And all of these resources we're gathering here is going to be instrumental in leveling up our secondary crafting skills, so that we can make better stuff. So, like, the plant fibers we can eventually spin into linen and, like, make some clothing, so we're not running around minimal geared. And the metals we can make into ingots, which then we can turn into, like, weapons or armor or whatever. So there's the drunk shack, and we're still looking for the grave. Not to say we have to find it, but I'd like to. Green's giving me lots of holes in my neck? Yes, it's my tracheotomy. I smoke from those holes. Alright, bring out your dead. So, all of the collection I've done so far, I'm still rated it very light. I think this is a pretty good indicator of, like, how much you can loot before the game's like, hey, that's the last straw that broke the camel's back. The game is very permissive. It's an adventure game with a lot of fantasy and mechanics involved. Like, you know, being able to choose enchantments on your gear when you pick them up. So, pay it no heed. In fact, the most fantastic one is being able to just carry around the boat in your pocket and, like, throw boats down at a whim. It's a little weird, but, like, I actually find it endearing. It's kind of hilarious. You can be like, hey baby, want to come back to my boat? And pull it out of your pocket and you're like, yep, here it is. Look at the size of my schooner. Okay, maybe that's not how I would speak, but, you know, whatever. Alright, Mr. Drunk Dead Dude, where the heck did you put the key? I don't know if his information is reliable, but what I do know is we're losing daylight. So, at some point, I am just going to give up on finding said graves and head to the seaport. Oh, our herbalism's already at a whopping 11. Oh, here's a little... Well, that's the starting port. Alright, one last run through the valley. And ultimately the thing is, like, if you can't figure something out, it's not really a big deal. There's not a need to necessarily be a completionist, and then of course, because there is levels and like gear and equipment and crafting and all that, you outgrow gear rather quickly. So not being able to unlock a certain chest, and that happens often. There's so many occasions where, like, you'll happen upon like some sort of magical chest and you don't have the key and you can't get it open until you get the key, but like, are you ever gonna circle back to that chest in the future? I don't know. Oh, here we go. Here's the grave was like right next to... I should have... Yeah, of course. Bonehead. So we got a bow. Sneaking reduces the sound you make while walking, allowing to more easily creep on enemies undetected. So I am going to put the bow on 3. We got storage chests, bananas, bottles, a combat guide about parrying, dodging, healing, sneaking, eating. More lockpicks. If you're wondering, there's a mechanic that allows you to read everything that you have collected in terms of books again. So there isn't necessarily a need for you to read everything the first time, if you're wondering. And the advantage of archery is when you pull out your flintlock, you have to load it every time. So it's not like a quick combat weapon. It's good to use when you get the drop on someone or something like that. Whereas the bow, you can, you know, knock an arrow rapidly if you want. Alright, we are seriously losing daylight, and I need to find my way back to the cartographer station. Stealth archer again? Yeah, possibly. It also really depends on the blessings that you have, because there's different enemy types. There's like animals, there's humans that you have to fight, there's like undead that you have to fight, and there's blessings on different weapons. So sometimes it makes the most sense to use a weapon, like if you're hunting and you have like a flintlock that does bonus damage to animals, you might want to use that while hunting, even though you can't get like stealth advantage. It's a bit dark. So in terms of skills, we have leveled up mining to 6, herbalism to 12, cooking to 3, and then marksman is our highest beyond that. And it's not bad. Are the arrows needed? Yes. In the bottom left, you can see that I have 22 arrows and 14 bullets. Arrows and bullets are really easy and cheap to make, so you can use them liberally and miss a whole lot. It doesn't really matter. Okay, we're back to the Sandy Grotto, which means we are a stone's throw away from the cartographer table. So at this cartographer station, we can make the raft. Any recipe that you have, you can also track, which is really nice. So you can track like what you need for it. But this wheel craft. And I am going to go to the equipment, hit my... Actually, I'm going to put this on 1, or the top. And then put the shovel on 2. So now if we hold E, and I don't want to track that anymore, I can then hold E, go to Raft, and there it is. Now, if your raft's ever stuck, you can hit R to redeploy, to like move it, to teleport it. If it sails off without you, which happens, you can always just go and resummon it like that. Right? So you can never be without your craft. So if I like went on this island and ran to the other shore, I could just resummon my raft on the other shore. It doesn't really matter. Ship wheel. By default, the ship wheel will rotate back to the center when you let go. If you want it to stay in place, you can lock the wheel in position. You can raise and lower your sails by interacting with the sail wheel crank. Sailing with the wind will also give you a speed bonus. The direction of the wind is indicated by the flag at the top of your ship. If it has one, you can also make them. There's no need to worry about beaching your ship. You can redeploy it. And then the rocking motion can be toggled on or off. So for your benefit, in the accessibility, I do have head bob, but I have reduced ship rocking for motion sickness on, because like I don't need to be making you all sick. So we know that we need to sail north in order to get the seaport, so that would be to the left. So extending the sails, grabbing the wheel. So if I crank the wheel left and let go, it will recenter. Ooh, and we're sailing with the wind. That's nice. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to sail with it much longer. And then if I want to lock it in, I can hit C, as in Charlie, and it will lock the wheel in place. And then if I want to get a heading on where I am, I can look at one of these planets, and I'm still at 0, 0. It's circled here. So the current last known position is sort of this like circly, stampy C thing. And then we can update our last position by taking sextant readings. So we're heading north. We were here. We're heading north. And in the first one, first island, I'm going to say it has animals. A little stamp for animals. So sextant readings can be taken only at like prominent skybox features like planets or the sun or the moon. This game does have moon phases, so I don't know. I think we're in a new moon situation because I can't see it anywhere, or it's below horizon. I'm not sure which. But we are at destination. This is the Seaport Island. So the current priority is travel to the seaport. And I'm not going to worry about the raft being beached. Doesn't really matter. So when you're on new islands, when you mark it, it will put the island down. You can also clear all your waypoints. So I know that, you know, I can waypoint anything if I want and then clear it too. So this island here, we know is a seaport, so I'm going to hit the anchor icon, which indicates, for me, because, you know, you make up your own map icons. But for me, it is will be the seaport icon. And somewhere on this island is civilization. Now, with that said, there's also a possibility that this island has, like, pirate havens, too. So just because I see people, I shouldn't necessarily assume they're good people. The player canonically is like kind of like a pirate, but like a good pirate. I don't even really know what we are. We're like, we're just a sailor, let's say. But there are essentially factions in the game. All right, where's the seaport here? Yeah, we're privateers. I don't know. We're pirates with a code, if you will. Whatever. And somewhere here is a seaport, and it will be... It's hard to miss when you finally see it, because it will have a lot of buildings and a lot of lights, and obviously I'm not near it. Because there's nothing here. So, I have searched the west side of the island, so I'm going to be heading east and searching everywhere to the east. Yeah, considering I saw the buildings on the, well, I saw the buildings on the southern coast, right? So it should be to the south. Because I was south of this island looking north, and I saw the buildings. So the buildings should be somewhere along the southern coast. And interestingly, I washed up on the southern coast, so maybe just not exactly where I washed up, but over. Well, we'll find it in a minute. Where'd that deer go? Sorry, but you're scrumptious. Ah, there's the moon. Just below horizon. Ah, yes. See? There it is. Does meat spoil? Nope. What are you doing out here? Oh, you're just a traveler. Just making sure that this was not a pirate camp. Because if it was a pirate camp, I wouldn't want to, like, walk in there with it full. Because that would be a real problem. Alright. So, the journal that we had here, the quest, is to talk to the cartographer. So, this would be the blacksmith. You can tell by the hammers and the anvil. And we want the cartographer, which is like a ship's wheel icon. But in town, we've got woodworking station. We've got all sorts of like random books, a workbench where you can make like more arrows. So here, as you can see, I could make 13 times 5 arrows. They're pretty cheap, as I said. We can make new weapons. So like if I wanted a different bow, we could craft a different bow. If I wanted better arrows, I could collect more green wood and make better arrows, or make bullets, so on and so forth. At the weaving station, I can make leather and linen and eventually level up to make better stuff. It wouldn't be a bad idea for me to cook some of the venison I have, because I'm hungry already. And it does batch crafting, so I cooked 6 at once. Likewise with the forge, we can smelt the copper ingots. And at the woodworking station, I don't want to use up all my wood making wood planks because there's other uses for wood logs. Alright, let's go ahead and eat. And here's the meals that I've made so far. So I've cooked bear, which gives 1 dex, 1 agility, heals, restores food, and is good for... Well, I guess there is a freshness meter, so I take that back about rot. And this one does strength. I have a lot of the strength ones, so I'm just going to eat some of that. And there's like loads of people here. So this is an outfitter that sells clothing, and some pirates that didn't learn their lessons. Sentenced to death, theft of blacksmith armory, drunk and disorderly, and being a pirate. Found to be a member of the Red Raider Pirate Guild while stealing rum and sailing towards the Redwood Island. Which, I think, just gave me a new quest. So if we want to join the Red Raiders, we can try to join them. There's a bunch of different guilds and factions in the game, and you can join as many as you want. So you can be both a raider and not a raider if you want. Here's a tavern. And a little note about the Sea Scholars Guild. They're at a desert island seaport. Notes about the undead. A cook who will sell ingredients and meals. An herbalist for potion making and other herbs. Hunter merchant for arrows, bows. General merchant, which is general goods, just a whole bunch of random stuff. The fishing log and the exploration log are books that you can put on your ship to keep track of like where you've been or what you fished. She also has like a recipe for a iron pickaxe. Now I only have 61 coppers, so I cannot afford the iron pickaxe, which is like 400 coppers. Or 4 silver in this case. The guide. Ahoy there. Who are you? Just a friendly guide. Do you know about fast travel? Fast travel? That's right. Every seaport and guild entry has a beacon tower that you can interact with. If you do, you'll be able to use your map to fast travel back to that location. So, fast travel locations are this thing. So if you walk up to this thing and click here, you activate a fast travel. And the distance which you fast travel will use up food. So you don't fast travel for free. So right now we are 86 out of 100 fed. But if the distance requires more than 100 food, we'll have to do multiple hops of fast travel. So you can't fast travel infinitely far. So in this case, I already have the seaport, but I'm going to add the fast travel location. I know it's a bit redundant because all seaports will have fast travel locations, but I'm going to do that anyway. Thank you for tuning in to Salt 2 Shores of Gold, which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Rottamont.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rottamont.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow pirates.